The At Your End Step podcast is brought to you by Comic Town. Check them out at www.comictown.net and search for Comic Town Gaming Center on Facebook. Hello, and welcome to At Your End Step. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Dave.
Welcome back, guys.
And Mike.
We just got in.
Yeah, we drove 7 hours today and recording a podcast, so you guys are welcome. Yeah, we just came back from GP Charlotte, Mike and I did, and boy, are our arms tired. No, just kidding. That was a bad joke, but I had to.
I think you actually, did you say we just flew in? Because I think you said we just got in.
Got in. It's left ambiguous for a reason.
Yeah, it's implied that you guys flew.
Oh.
No, we drove 14 hours. And I did it all, because I'm a big boy, and I could do those things.
I just listen to music.
Yeah, exactly.
I was the DJ.
Yeah,
sweet.
there's a lot of awesome things that we listened to. Many laughs were had. It was a good car ride, to be honest.
Discovered that all the people in the backseat knew Dr. Horrible sing-along vlog very well.
Yeah, very, very well.
And we had a sing-along. So
yeah,
it was nice.
It made sense. I did sing along. I actually only watched it like once or twice, so I don't know all the words. It was a long time ago, so apparently I need to step up my Dr. Horrible sing-along blog game up.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
It's fine.
So
it's fine. Yeah. So
I don't want to say this, but I do have to say this. It's an age thing.
Wow. We went there, apparently. Anyway, so we obviously have some stories from GP Charlotte, and then Dave, has some stories about the PPTQ/IQ that happened on Saturday at Comic Town. So we'll get to that, but there's a few community topics we wanted to touch on before that, and then wrap it up with what's happening over the weekend. So first, let's talk about the community. Over the weekend, seemingly we have some new, very high-profile cards leaking due to the San Diego Comic-Con promo cards being spoiled, and this is Jace, Nissa, and Chandra. Now, the Chandra's a little bit weird. It was kind of already spoiled earlier, and it seems to be the same wording as that one. And I don't think we talked about it because it was pure speculation. So we'll talk about all three of them here. And I'm just going to pull them up here on my end in a little bit more of a easily readable format. So let's talk first about Jace. So Jace on his creature side is named Jace Vryn.
I think it's Vryn.
Yeah, Vryn's Prodigy. And it's 1 and a blue for a legendary creature, human wizard. And it has tap. Draw a card, then discard a card. And if there are 5 or more cards in your graveyard, exile Jace, and then return to the battlefield transformed under his owner's control. And he's a 0/2. And then on the other side is Jace Telepath Unbound. He has a +1 up to 1 target creature gets -2/-0 until your next turn, and then a -3. You may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard this turn. If that card would be went to your graveyard this turn, exile it. So it's Snapcaster Mage for his -3, basically. Target card gets flashback. Instant or sorcery gets flashback. And then -9 for his ultimate. You get an emblem with whenever you cast a spell, target opponent puts the top 5 cards of his or library into their graveyard. Whatever, because, mill, all Jaces have to have mill at some persuasion, right? So what do we think?
So I saw a couple of people already mention that they wish that it was a May exile trigger, because just they'd pay it for a 0/2 looter.
Yeah.
He definitely seems pretty easy to flip. He's going to be in a format full of fetches. The question is, how relevant is he when he flips? And he protects himself. He has a lot of loyalty, but his emblem doesn't win the game. It's very lackluster. His protection is also really average. The -3 is sweet, don't get me wrong, but you're doing a lot of work to get there. So we don't know what the format will look like with these cards. And again, I definitely think his front side is absolutely playable. Like, at least throughout Magic's past, a Merfolk Looter has been at least a card to consider. And this one has upside, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah, I think I pretty much agree. It seems pretty underpowered. Looter's fine, but hasn't really seen constructed play anytime recent.
Yeah.
And
unless it's stapled to a enchantment that also makes your creatures bigger.
Yeah, that's true. When you get it for free, yeah. Yeah, I think like the big payoff is the -3 on the Planeswalker side.
Yes.
It's like, is that really... So it starts with 5 loyalty, so you get to do it once, and then you have to
Plus.
+1 it for a turn. It's like, I don't know. I mean, maybe if there's something you really want to cast multiple times.
I mean,
guess.
so maybe the first mode is always the plus, and then you can minus it twice. Who knows?
Theory, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how good this card is going to be based on a lot of its -3. So what other instants or sorceries you're playing, right? If we get something really powerful, like we already have Dig Through Time, but that kind of it always feels like Dig Through Time is fighting with other things. So it's like you're not necessarily going to get I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, if you wanted to keep him a looter, you could just
Yeah.
delve away. On
I mean,
your
there's
sorcery.
definitely a way to build with this deck. Like if you're going to build with this creature, like, hey, you can keep delving it and keep using it as looter. Again, it's the looter portion of it. It's okay drop. I mean, even against like mono red, like if this is an early spell that can block a 1/1, eat a spell if it needs to. Like, it's definitely playable. So, but even like it's minus. Like I'm looking at like how much you have to do to transform it. And like Narset's seeing no play, and I think there's most spells I'd rather have the chance to rebound than to just flash it back. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, being 2 mana, you can get it in under counter spells most of the time if you're playing like a control mirror.
True.
But I just don't think it has that high of an impact. Like, you think like a similar card would be like Ashiok and like a control mirror, and that card seems a lot more impactful once it hits the board than this one. This one takes a long time to really do anything.
Right. So it's kind of sad. 2 lackluster Jaces in a row. This and the Living Guild Pact, but we'll see. This I don't think we're outright. Like I definitely don't think it's bad. Like I don't think it's like outright bad, but it's okay.
Yeah.
And that's how I'm starting to feel about all of these so far, which is kind of sad. Maybe Gideon's going to surprise me, but
Maybe.
we'll see.
So let's move ahead into Nissa. So creature side of Nissa is Nissa, Vastwood Seer. It costs 2 and a green for a legendary creature, Elf Scout. When Nissa enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic forest card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your library. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, if you control 7 or more lands, exile Nissa. Then return her to the battlefield transformed under her owner's control. And she is a 2/2. And then on the Planeswalker side, she is Nissa, Sage Animist. And then she has a +1, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it into the battlefield. Otherwise, put it into your hand. -2, put a legendary 4/4 green elemental creature token named Ashaya, Awoken World, onto the battlefield. And then -7, untap up to 6 target lands. They become 6/6 elemental creatures. They are still lands. So basically, untap 6 target lands, kill your opponent.
That's a rude awakening.
That is, in fact, 1 root of an awakening. And she has 3 loyalty. So, thoughts?
Yeah, this one seems much more impactful than Jace.
That
now.
flip, that flip condition is rough though. 7 lands. I mean,
Yeah, it's not that unheard of in the current standard.
now we know why we have explosive vegetation in the format.
Turbo Nissa.
Yeah, no
So,
joke.
I think Nissa so far what we've seen is like Liliana is very playable, but like Nissa I think is a card that fits into a lot of decks that we've already we could see being in standard. Like that Wood Elves has always been a playable card. You know what I mean? So now somebody said that this was going to be very, very good, and like I sort of harassed. I think it was on Facebook. I was harassing. I was like, yeah, it's almost as good as Borderland Ranger. We did it because it specifically searches for a basic forest
card. Yeah.
So like, it puts it in a really awkward place. By far, out of all the transform sides we'll look at, this one's pretty much the most powerful. Like it's green and its +1 is draw a card, which is like disgusting. Like that they shouldn't. Green shouldn't do that. Why does the blue one plus up and give a creature -2/-0 and the green was drawing a card?
Yeah. Not to mention, like this will see play for a small time with Course of Krufix still standard legal.
Ding.
Yeah. And that's
pretty nice.
Yeah,
But it's also, I mean, the one thing, you have to get to 7 lands. It's also a 2/2. And we're talking about scale. Like, it isn't like, oh, shoot, the Figure of Destiny. I can't remember its name all of a sudden.
Warden of the First Tree.
Thank you. It's not Warden of the First Tree where like it's going to scale as you make your land drops. It's going to stay at 2/2 the entire time that you're making land drops, and then once you play the land, which is nice, you have to wait for the next turn. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe this is one of those things where like it can be an early drop if you need it to be, but maybe you just wait for this till your turn 6 and then it gets your 7th land.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, you could play this on turn 3 if you just need, like, if you have no lands.
Yeah, but then then you have a card in hand that's just nothing. Like at all.
Like, yeah, like the front side of this is pretty meh, but the Planeswalker side is pretty good.
Planeswalker side is really good.
Yeah, so this one feels like it's worth putting in your deck, whereas Jace is kind of like,
Maybe.
I don't know.
All right. No, I don't think we've actually talked about the Chandra yet, so we'll read
I think we dismissed it.
Yeah.
I personally dismissed it. But.
All right. So on the front side is Chandra, Fire of Kaladesh, and it's 1 red for a 2/2, and it says whenever you cast a red spell, untap Chandra, and then she has tap Chandra. Deals 1 damage to target player. If Chandra has dealt 3 or more damage this turn, exile her, then return her to the battlefield under her owner's control. And on the other side, she has Chandra, Roaring Flame, and she has a +1. Chandra deals 2 damage to target player, a -2. Chandra deals 2 damage to target creature, and then a -7. Chandra deals 6 damage to each opponent. Oh, wait, the ultimate actually, I think, changed based on the leak one, right?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, so let's go back and pull up.
Deals 6 damage to each opponent. Each player deals damage, or each player dealt damage this way gets an emblem that says at the beginning of your upkeep.
Yes,
lightning
that's what
bolts
it is. Yeah, so
which is interesting. Like it's like a searing wound that just keeps hurting.
Now, obviously, one thing I do want to point out is, Chandra as a creature can attack, and that's a way you can deal damage. So you can, attack and then play a spell and then untap and then ping and then flip. So, I mean, it's pretty interesting. 3 damage, is a healthy amount if they, have any sort of blockers, of course. But any other opinions on Chandra?
You did mention that she is going to be in a format with Jeskai Ascendancy, which is sort of adorable.
Oh, yeah, that's true, yeah.
This one's probably one of the easiest to flip, right? Like you can ping, cast a spell, then attack, or do it the other way around.
Yeah, but it has to survive combat.
It's true. People still play Sylvan Carry added. You're like, oh sure, I don't care if you block.
So my issue with her is that you can probably flip her without too much of an issue. Is it even worth it? And like her Planeswalker abilities are, oh man, they're really meh. Like, the ultimate's sweet, but like +1 ping you, which is what her human could do. So she became a Planeswalker, could still deal 1 damage to you.
No, she deals 2. Yeah,
Is it not? I mean, I have a hard time reading this. Oh, I'm sorry, it was blurry on mine. So it is 2. Okay, I apologize. She could double it up. My bad.
Yeah, I think it really depends on like how good shocking a creature will be. Like right now, it doesn't seem that great in the format, but
I mean, if it does kill morphs, that could be relevant.
I mean,
but one of the most famous morphs already comes down on when they can flip it on turn 5.
Right.
Den Protector. They're not going to run out a naked Den Protector on turn 3.
You're not going to catch them by surprise. With
No, not at all.
Unless there's haste somehow.
Yeah. They won't block it with it. I'll tell you what.
And again, Chandra suffers from being just like really, I don't know, a soft creature. Like, oh, okay, here's your 2/2. So I don't know. Again, these have to be played in context. We'll have to see how it is. I bet Wizards is pretty upset that these all 3 got spoiled though, because these are their marquee cards, and so that's frustrating for them.
Yeah. Now they have Gideon as their only one that is a somewhat of a mystery at this point in time. Now, again, these have still been up and have been posted by spoiler sites, so we are taking these as being legitimate, but information can obviously change and we could be wrong. So, take everything that we said obviously with a grain of salt, but we're pretty confident that these are legit cards. And, Gideon could be interesting, but Liliana still seems probably the most playable, I would say.
I like Liliana.
No.
I think I mentioned this to you. I think she's a sack effect away from being very, very good. Like if you just like player sack a guy and then transformer in the same term, like that's going to be really good. So.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like one of those cards, and we talked about this a while ago. I can't remember when that spoiler came out, but
that was a long time ago.
It's one of those cards that I think on the surface you're like, that doesn't look that great, but once you play with it and like different situations come up, in the game or in combat, I think it's going to be a lot better than it looks on the surface.
Yeah, awesome. All right. So another thing that happened was we did E3 is going on, which is the Electronic Entertainment Expo. Happens every year in LA, and Magic Duels Origins had a trailer released for gameplay footage. Now, from that gameplay footage, some keen observers sort of gleaned some new cards that have a high likelihood of showing up in Origins. So we definitely wanted to speak about those here real quick. And they're 2 red spells, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there are 2 red spells.
So the first one that we're going to talk about is called Chandra's Ignition. I'm sure R. Kelly's probably a fan of this one. I heard maybe a remix might be coming out about it as well. It is.
I hate you so much.
What are you going to do about it? It's already recorded.
I'm gonna go beep beep.
So, Chandra's Ignition is 3 red, and for a sorcery, and it says target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to each other creature and each opponent. We already were talking about this before the show started, and it seems like you might want to do this with Tassiger. I don't know. Seems pretty good.
So you can play in the same turn. Like, as Dave pointed out, it's a sorcery that targets a creature you control, so you're just like begging your opponent to blow you out.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, it only deals damage to your opponent. Your one creature gets to stay alive. Like, I could see some like really high, like really awesome things happening to this card. Like limited, this card is gonna just make opponents cry.
Oh yeah, jeez, yeah. And it is a rare in the game. We don't know if necessarily rarities will transfer over, but it can be
probably
assumed, yeah, that this would be a rare card. And then the next card we have is uncommon. It is Ravaging Blaze. And this is red X, deal X damage to target creature. Now, the interesting thing about this one is there is a new mechanic on it called Spell Mastery. And Spell Mastery reads on this card specifically, if there are 2 or more instants or sorceries in your graveyard, Ravaging Blaze also deals X damage to that creature's controller. So it gets additional writer text on it if you meet this condition. And it is an instant.
Yeah, I was just going to say it was an instant.
Yeah, and it is listed as an uncommon here, so...
I like the flavor of Spell Mastery, and we'll see. More than likely, I think Spell Mastery stays like that same trigger.
Yes,
it could possibly be others, but I like this whole like Rocky training montage thing they've got going on in Magic Origins. Like Chandra was just a girl, and then Spell Mastery, she's a planeswalker, and now it deals damage to both of you. So like I don't know, like Jace is like lifting books with his mind. Like 1, 2, 3. So it's kind of cool. This idea like they're gonna show the actual this reflects showing the growth of the characters, right? Like they're becoming better at what they do, thus mastery, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that it's pretty awesome, and it's awesome to think about what other things they could do with this, basically, and where it is centered in. I can see this more likely being blue and red, just because they're the more instant sorcery heavy decks, but. Who knows what they're going to be doing with this spell? Could be anything you put on the stack is a spell. So who knows? Maybe that writer, the 2 or more instant sorceries may change depending on what you're casting. So that's obviously pure conjecture, but it's an interesting thing to see. And I'm excited to see more of these cards. I think spoilers start next week?
Maybe. I don't know for sure.
I think it's next week when spoilers happen. So. Hopefully we'll be seeing some new and interesting and exciting cards coming out of that.
I do have one issue with these walkers and all this stuff, though. Mm-hmm. Jace is a human wizard, right? Makes sense. Okay. Nisa, elf scout, right? Chandra, human shaman.
Yeah, that's weird.
I read the Uncharted Realms for her. What is how is she a shaman? She lives in a city full of it's like literally steampunk. It's all steampunk. How is she a shaman? How is she in tune with nature?
I have no idea. That
messed up, wizards.
That is a weird creature typing for sure.
I would take Berserker for her over Shaman.
Berserker.
All right, like fire, right? Like, but she's a wizard, right?
Do they have red wizards anymore?
I
think the red wizards are just shamans now. That's probably why.
I don't like it though. The flavor does not make sense. And you know what? This is a historical thing, so they could have gone back and put wizard on. I don't care. Like, is young Pyromancer a shaman then? Can we look this up real quick here? Like, I would, but I'm on an iPad today. I can't.
Dualcaster Mage, which is a recent printing, is a wizard, human wizard.
Okay. Ding. I was wrong, I guess.
I'm very sad.
Yeah,
I'm writing my letter now.
It may be for all the people that wanted to put a sweet planeswalker in their shaman
No,
tribal deck.
move on.
Young Pyromancer is a shaman.
Oh,
I can't cast that card anymore.
oh,
It goes
well,
against everything I believe in fake things.
that is a good like ask Morrow sort of thing. So maybe you can ask the question to
All
him
right,
on
fair
his
enough.
on his Tumblr.
I have to go to Tumblr for that.
Yes.
I'll consider it.
Okay. I'm just saying, like, I
means
would want an
no.
explanation. Like, why are specifically pyromancers
Shamans, right?
Yeah.
Because I was anything shamanistic about her, but anyways, let's continue. That was just a little grind my tears moment. So,
Yeah, it's a small one.
and
It's just a little
if he's
bit. Just a
answered
little
this
bit.
question, like if he's answered this question, like seriously, please let me know. Like message me, say, hey, actually, blog a tog,
XYZ, this
Yo,
is why this is.
it did this already. Let me know because I'm sad.
Yeah. So also community-wise, we do want to thank Chewy, who is from the Mana Pool. If you haven't listened to that podcast, we do encourage you to listen to it. He had like a special meetup for some podcasters, part of MTG Cast that was held in Charlotte, and we went and we had a good time, and we got to meet a bunch of people and like match voices to faces as far as like these other Magic podcasts go, and we had a great time. Many laughs were had, some at the expense of our friends, whilst at the eatery we were at. And we just wanted to, give a special shout out there. It was really awesome to meet a bunch of people. We actually met Clues as well, who's very prominent in the community and who's a judge at the GP. So yeah, but it was great, and we just wanted to do a special thank you for that specific thing.
Shout out to our server who will probably never hear this, but she worked with about 25 Magic players, making gigantic seating arrangements, and literally was laughing and joking with us the whole time, and was very, very pleasant. And she could have just been like, I hate all of you people, get out of my city, no food for you.
So it's not like other cities that we've been to.
Correct.
No, she was a champ.
I'm very Charlotte greater than Richmond. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got hometown like favor in Richmond, I'm sorry. I don't know. Do better.
It was very, very hot in Richmond, though, to be fair.
In Charlotte.
Yeah, Sue. Very, very hot
Don't compare them. Why would you do that to Charlotte?
I'm sorry. I messed up. It was very, very hot in Charlotte. But it was also very, very hot where we were anyway, so it didn't really matter.
It rained a lot less, though. Rained a lot less in Charlotte.
It certainly did. It was very sunny and nice. We were inside most of the time. Didn't really matter, but who cares? All right. Well, speaking of the GP, let's go ahead and move into the competitive section of the podcast. So, Dave, you played in the 1K that was held by Comic Town over the weekend.
Modern for everybody, man.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was a modern PPTQ as well. And I heard you battled someone familiar in top 4 and may have lost to them. Would you mind saying his name?
Somebody with the initials BC.
BC.
Yeah, I don't know who that could be.
Yeah, like was it?
It's like that show Bobby's World.
Oh, okay, all right.
We're wasting a lot of time in this.
Gotcha.
You lost to Bobby in top 4, correct?
Yeah, we're still rolling it. He's got to work for it. It's the anticipation.
He's like sitting down with a treat on his nose. Like, what are you doing here?
Anyway, so who was so Bobby went on to the finals. Who was was he the eventual victor?
He lost, unfortunately.
That's sad, Bobby. You really like. If we're gonna keep doing this, you got to win one of these things.
So he was on Combo Company.
Yeah,
correct.
Abzan Collected
What
Company.
did he lose to?
He lost to Infect.
Ooh,
in the
gross.
finals, which was
That's weird.
yeah. I think he got a little mana light draw in game 3 from what I saw.
Awkward,
so, but
well, tough luck, Bobby. You'll get him next time, unless Dave's there, and then you guys go back and forth.
One of you two, I don't know. Eventually, you guys will become. The world will shift, and it'll become one person.
Yeah, correct.
I made the joke that like we never play each other in the Swifts. We only play in the top 8. Like we only play when the chips are down. So yeah, it was kind of funny.
Awesome. What did you play?
I played Grixis Twin.
That's a good deck.
Yeah, I had to shelve the Delvers. I felt like there were too many lightning bolts in the format. A lot of people were playing Jund and various Grixis and Jeskai decks. So yeah, I played Twin, and that it was kind of funny because that's like the first time I've ever played any Twin deck. Like I haven't played Twin before, and had 0 games going in. But yeah, it felt pretty good. It was nice. Like it was a change of pace from playing Delver for so long, and like a lot of matchups just go really grindy, and like you got to eke out every little advantage. And playing Twin, you're like, oh man, I'm so far behind, but if I just rip Splinter Twin, I win. Like, definitely happened a couple of times. So yeah, that was nice. It was nice, but
Awesome.
yeah, I really like the deck. I'm probably gonna continue to play that, either that or something similar to Chapin's List from the GP.
Gotcha.
We'll
He
talk
played
about
Grixis Control, but
Versus Control.
any notable matches or anything like that, or choices for your deck specifically?
Well, I think so. I played Grixis Twin as well. We'll talk about that. So you played a Zero Inquisition version, like you
Right.
cut discards entirely from yours, and I'm actually interested how that, because in our discussions after the GP, like I liked Inquisition a lot, but I definitely felt like I did want one more cantrip. So you played Jataxian Probes.
No, I ended up. I think you played 2 Inquisitions.
I did. Did you
played
play
two,
Thoughts?
I played 2 Spell Snares.
Spell Snare. Okay, so you didn't play another cantrip though.
No, I played. I was
Interesting.
considering playing like 1 Thought Scour, but I ended up playing 1 Dispel main deck.
Dispel main deck was
yeah.
was great.
Yeah, it was
great.
pretty good. But yeah, otherwise it's pretty stock list. The only thing that was really kind of spicy that I had was I had 2 Bitter Blossoms on the sideboard for
Ooh.
the more grindy matchups. Played against a Death Cloud deck in round 1, so definitely brought in the Bitter Blossoms against that, and it was pretty good. Actually, I ended up drawing in round 1, which was really awkward.
That is awkward.
Yeah, like it was really really close. Like we were both really low. But I think I would have had him if I had another turn because he didn't have any reach in his deck other than Death Cloud dealing X. You know?
Right.
But I was able to win out the Swiss from there. Actually, could have drawn into the top 8 in the last round, but ended up playing against the guy who was 4-0 just for seeding. Because even if I lost, I would still
get
be
in.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I was able to win that and get the number 1 seed going in. But yeah. It was kind of funny because I played against Affinity in the first round of top 8, and right before the tournament, I cut my Shadowstorm on the board, so I had no Affinity hate in my board,
No,
other
it
than the
is.
generic stuff like Pyroclasms.
Yeah, first round of the Invitational, I was like, I'm not going to play Shatterstorm today. I'm fine. I'll be fine. And of course, I play against Affinity the round 1, of course. Still win because Colgan's Command, hell of a card.
Oh yeah, that's a great card as well.
Yeah, I was able to take it down. Kept like a kind of risky hand. Game 3, I was on the play, and I kept 1 land, like Pyroclasm, Spellskite, Terminate. I think I might have had Bolt. I don't know, but was able to rip the land on my second turn. So it all worked out. But it was kind of one of those hands, and like Jerry Thompson's kind of talked about this on his stream a little bit about how not enough people keep 1-landers. Like if your hand is like the nuts if you draw a land, then you more than likely have a much higher win percentage of you're trying to go for it than like mulliganing and then maybe keeping a hand with like you have 3 lands but then you have like 3
Some
spells
mediocre
that
cards.
aren't as impactful.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was definitely a risk, and definitely with money on the line and and all that, it was a little stressful, but I was able to get there. And then lost to Bobby in the top 4. Definitely, like, game 1 just had the absolute nuts hand of like Serum Visions into Remand into Deceiver Exarch into Splinter Twin. Like just can't ask for anything better than that. Like even had to terminate for a Spellskite that he played. But games 2 and 3, I just got it's too much value from Collected Company. It was pretty much it's what did me in, and especially game 3, like. My hand was kind of loose. It was like 4 lands, 2 bolts, and a terminate. And I'm like, all right, I can, keep him off whatever he's trying to do for a while. And then I ended up just kept drawing more lands and more bolts, which eventually he just drew Collected Company into Eternal Witness, into Collected Company into I think another Eternal Witness.
Yeah.
Just like
the
these
value.
1-for-1s are not keeping up. Yeah.
Ridiculous amounts of value.
Yeah, I was never really in game 3, so. But it was a lot of fun. I like playing a new deck, and still enjoy playing Modern. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, this format's so much fun right now.
It certainly is.
Did you not to sidetrack a little bit, but do you see LSV had a post today about how he didn't know if he was going to go to many more GPs this season, which showed that it's ancillary. But he said that he really enjoyed playing that. He would like literally was handed a deck, like, but really enjoyed playing it, and how much he loved it as a GP format. Maybe it shouldn't be a PT format, which I think we all like watching it at the Pro Tour level. But he had some good foundation to it. But it was nice to see him literally go, "This was super fun. I played mostly interactive Magic. Got to play great games. Said you got to see some sweet decks this weekend. Like, so maybe it is like the perfect GP format."
Yeah, I think multiple pros have come out and said that, like they prefer to keep it at just GP level because the Pro Tour kind of ruins it almost. It's just like, somebody's just going to break the format and then, this is going to be it. But we saw a lot of sweet decks come out of the woodwork this weekend. Like, I mean, Modern is pretty, you can pretty much play anything, but even then there were some crazy, some crazy decks that we'll probably talk about once we get to that. But
well, let's you want to start talking about the GP then?
Oh yeah, let's move into that. So we obviously, went to GP Charlotte. It was a pretty large GP. We'll take a look. It's 2,870 players. That's pretty large.
I mean, just talk about like even like the numbers of the players there. Like there were a ton more players than that overall. Like they essentially had like a GP side of the hall and then like a side event side of the hall with, and I'm not kidding, street signs, like numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were asking people, like, give me an address. Like, where are you in the hall? Give me your address.
Yeah.
But actually, it was super convenient.
That's pretty smart, yeah.
But they had vendors all around the entire hall. They had a ton of artists there. We got an awesome picture with Christine Sprankle, so thank you for that.
Yeah, you guys should have seen that.
It's on Twitter, so we did. When her Noble High Rock costume was actually unreal. And then I got a bunch of signatures for the battle box. I did not get Therese Nielsen, unfortunately. I did not have the. You had to.
I would assume the line is way long.
Like she was there for 3-hour increments, and after the first half hour, they closed her line because they knew that the end of the line was going to take 3 hours. So, but I got through everyone else, including Vulcan Bega. So, or Bega. I actually don't know, and I apologize. But he was very just very gracious and very nice and signed everything. So I got a sweet piece of candy that Sunlance with the little birthday cake stamp from Las Vegas and signed by him. So happy. So beyond like the convention, when it keeps getting referred to, that convention feel was in full effect. So it was cool, and honestly, there was tons of space, and it felt nice. Like it never felt bad down there. It got a little warm on the one side, and CVM actually tweeted at like, "Hey, can we get the AC turned down?" And they responded, "Yes."
I mean, he's getting them perks. Got it right from Star City.
So, but I guess Morgan, if you want to go first here, then talk about what you played, how you did, how'd your weekend go, Morgan?
It didn't go like super great, but I still had fun. I played Jund, and I think I based my list off of a little bit of Rabbits' list, a little bit of Jerry's list, stuff like that. I played 25 lands, 2 Ghost Quarters still, but I decided to play some Hunt Masters in the sideboard and play main deck Fulminators as well.
Oh, by the way, Hunt Masters went to $20 on the floor Saturday morning.
Yeah, it was insane. And I liked the list. I definitely got a bit unlucky and it maybe didn't play to the best of my ability. Ended up going 5-4, so I wasn't able to day 2, unfortunately. And then ran into just some bad matchups the next day in the Super Sunday series. And I mean I don't think I necessarily played my best over the weekend, and going up against things like Tron and Bloom kind of got me a little bit discouraged. And like I also played against some weird decks. So on my first round, I had a first round bye at the GP. My first round in, I played against Twinning End, and Living End in general is like not a very good matchup for a mid-range deck that doesn't necessarily have a whole lot of an advantage there. And also, when you miss sideboard and don't put in your Gen Charm, you feel kind of stupid.
I felt really bad. I was like, he was going to go on this board. Like I did this. I was like, Morgan, doesn't Gen Charm exile the graveyard? And he goes, "Yep." So I'm just an idiot.
Did you have ley lines?
I'm phoned with gas. No, I didn't. I didn't have room for the ley lines because I think people knew that was going to happen.
There was a fair amount of Living End in the room. Like it didn't do great, but it was in the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I feel people kind of read that the ley line count was likely going to be down, so it wasn't necessarily going to be a huge thing there. So I think that kind of played a part in it a bit. So It was kind of rough, but I still like the list. I mean, I had some sweet games. Mike got to see me in the Super Sunday series. Round one play against Bloom, by the way. There's nothing more demoralizing than you're just like, oh, I'm playing against what it could potentially just be my worst matchup. And I'd even made the change of putting the Huntmaster's main instead of side and moving the Fulminators into the sideboard, so I just had the full 4 Fulminators in the side. So I'm like, oh, cool. But somehow, squeak out game 1 against him, and I win, and I'm elated. I was like, whatever. Game 2, he just destroys me. Just does the things that Bloom does.
He does the thing. He does the thing.
He does the thing where he kills me with a giant vigilant 8/6 trampling, primeval titan. Whatever. That's fine. I know that's what that deck does. So then, game 3. I keep a 2-lander off the back of I have some disruption. I have a Bob, so
mulligan as well.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna mulligan anymore after this. I just have to get lucky, and hopefully his land, his keep wasn't that superb. So I turn 1 Thoughtseize. He has 2 amulets, a chromatic lantern, which is the new hot tech for Blood Moon. So watch out for that. And he has a couple lands and Titan, yeah. So I take one of the amulets. I was like, amulets, I can't beat those. I need to find a way to kill him. So he goes his turn. He plays a Souza and just does some land tricksy things, whatever. And then no, it was his turn 1. So
Morgan's a Dark Confidant in play. His opponent plays a Souza, and the next turn, if he gets to untap, he's just going off. So Morgan then proceeds to have the best. Oh man, I was sitting there watching.
It's almost the best. It's almost the best.
We realized it actually could have been better, and we were wrong. So go ahead, Morgan. I'm sorry.
So my turn. Bob Trigger, flip over Colgan's command. I'm like, that's awesome.
Again, it only has 2 lands though.
So 2 lands though. So need to actually rip. I don't think I had red at that point in time. Maybe I did. Yeah, but I just need to rip another land and just draw it. Just draw the fetch land right off the top, and I'm like, yes. So I get to play it fetch and kill his Azusa and his amulet.
You got to channel your inner Dave Nolan.
So
correct.
Then I was like,
Yes.
how do you? So then I said, there's no way that could have been better for you. But then we realized he could have flipped over the land Bob,
and then draw
command,
and not taking 3 damage.
And the next turn, you got to
the next turn, the turn previous, I didn't draw land. I drew a Fulminator Mage. So the next turn, I drew
Ghost Quarter.
Ghost Quarter. So I got to play Fulminator Mage, kill his land, and then play Ghost Quarter and kill his other land. It was mean. It wasn't the dirtiest thing I've ever done that I did that weekend, though. So I was playing against tokens in the Super Sunday series. And game 1, I'm dead to rights. He has 6 spirit tokens. And I'm like, I don't even know how I get out of this. And then I draw the way I get out of this, which is my main deck Maelstrom Pulse. So I was like, oh, you're not going to like this. And I just Maelstrom Pulse all his tokens. And I have a Scavenging Ooze in play. I just kill him with it. It's fine. No big deal. So that is also the gross thing I did over the weekend. So it was fun. I enjoy those moments where you're just like, oh, and then I realized that's just how Dave and Jordan feel all the time. So I got to live in those moments of glory for a little bit.
That's good.
Yeah, it's great.
Feels good.
If I could do that all the time, I would. So, Mike, go into your better performing story.
Mike, as you have been known to do better than us recently.
To be fair, I think we cashed at the same value, and I had to play 15 rounds.
That's true. Yeah,
So
I
I
was
don't
out
know.
there by 5.
But yeah, I did. I mean, spoiler alert. I guess I cashed the GP. I drew in the last round. I could have played for a slim chance at the top 100, which would have been a pro point, which I was pretty excited about.
Could have been.
That's worth more than.
But it was also
money.
a $50 increase in value versus possibly not cashing at all. So the draw just made absolute sense. Made the weekend a positive as opposed to anything else.
That's not respecting the game, Mike.
I understand. It was very.
I don't know what you're doing.
I also took some value Modern Masters cards off the table, and I took a Burst Lightning, so I balanced it out.
Yeah. We were even.
No, I honestly. So I did pretty well. I wish there's a couple games I wish I had back, but I guess I'll talk about the deck. Played Grixis Twin as well. Dave and I were really sort of hashing out lists back and forth to each other. We had a pretty interesting Facebook thread over different ideas, how we felt about certain cards. I ended up playing the discard effects, which was for a couple reasons. One, I didn't get as many reps into the deck as I wanted to. I was trying to, but I felt like I would do better if I had information, and that held true pretty much throughout the tournament. And additionally, I did not like Spell Snare at all. Dave, I know you did like Spell Snare, and it just was a card that wasn't testing the way I wanted it to, and it just had really high value in some cases. And honestly, the deck I really wanted to play, like see it in and against, was the Jund, the Jund matchup specifically. I played that once, so it didn't feel it. I never missed it. So, but we were a couple cards off. Additionally, played some different pieces of sideboard tech. I played a Jace Architect of Thought and a Mole Drifter.
That's hot.
I want you to know, and I'm not being anything over here. I have a lot of people watch everything else. The Mole Drifter was one of the best sideboard cards the entire weekend. Now, this is because I played the Mirror 4 times, and I played Blue Red Twin once, and I played against Jund once. So I had 6 different. Oh, and I played against Blue White Control. So I had multiple matches where bringing that card in was actually just great. Against my Blue White opponent on day 2, I just hard casted into his Geist Saint Draft, and he couldn't attack into it, and I got to draw 2 cards as well. It was awesome. I only got the Culligan's Command it back once, but it was.
Oh, I'm so
lovely.
sorry.
I also could have Splinter Twinned it, but I just opted to put it on my Deceiver Exarch instead and win. So,
Fair enough. Smart play.
Man.
Not the fun play, but the smart play.
Definitely so I started off 7-0. Which was, I mean, I was after my round 7 win, which had an interesting judge call. I want to talk to you, or throw out to you, Dave.
Okay.
Essentially, so round 7, my opponent is playing Blue Red Twin. We get to a point in game 1 where he has 3 lands untapped. I go for a Pestrum at the end of turn. I know he's a Lightning Bolt, so I'm trying to force his removal. Like, I feel like I'm ahead in the game anyways. He responds with a Deceiver Exarch. Tapping out to do so. I say, okay. He resolves it, untaps his Sulphur Falls, says everything resolves. I say, okay, tap your Sulphur Falls. He says, do you have any effects at the end of the turn? I said, as long as your Sulphur Falls is tapped, no. He said, okay. I said, okay, tap your Sulphur Falls. He said, yes. I reached over and started to tap it for him. He said, oh, I want to respond. Now, yeah. Call the judge. The judge rules that we can back up to my Pestomite trigger being on the stack. I appeal. My opponent tells me, and he was a really nice guy, really nice guy. We talked a bunch of stuff the next day. He was definitely had nerves going a little bit. He said he was sitting there telling me, he's like, in the other judge, he's like, I had tunnel vision a little bit. Like, you may have said this stuff. I did not hear you. Like, I thought we were just going through this. Head judge talks to both of us, proceeds to tell us that he feels it's a communication error, that my opponent thinks I missed my trigger, and that I think this. What I proceed to ask Jordan after the fact, who was sitting there listening to the whole thing. The head judge asked my opponent if he's like, so do you think your opponent missed his trigger? My opponent never once said that he thought I missed my trigger. He said he understood it was a communication thing. He misunderstood what was being asked. But because of that, because the head judge decided they asked him that, and when he asked him that, he was like, well, yeah, I guess so. So my opponent was allowed to change his story, and we got back to the point where our opponent's land was untapped. Now I still win that game.
So the judge assumed one thing, and that kind of led to it,
and led my opponent into it. It was So it was a little frustrating, and I wasn't trying to fish a win there, but I am playing for day 2. Like, I'm going to hold my opponent to what my opponent says. You know what I mean? Like,
and you should when you're playing the GP.
If he's going to punt to me, then I'm going to do that. I said we were very jovial during the judge call, but I'm still trying. Like, hey, I like you. You're a nice guy. I'm trying to beat you. You know what I mean? I am able to take that match, so that was interesting. I proceeded to lose my next 2, which was rough. I have a game against Affinity I wish I could have back. I think I played it I played it to the point where I had gotten rid of most of his board, but he still had some pressure, and I could go off with Twin the next turn in hand, but bricked on the land drop. I could have played a safer line and tried to Inquisition him first, and then play the long game. He had 2 Galvanic Blasts in hand, so I missed on the land, shifted back to him. He was able to kill the Exarch, and I slowly lost from there. If I play a much longer game if I play the Inquisition, so I don't know if I still get there or not, but I don't just outright lose. Game 2, I proceeded to have only 7 lands left in my deck when I lost. I got to do the awesome Culligan's Command him out, and then blow up the rest of his board with explosive engineer explosives too, but it didn't matter. So last round though, I played against a member of face-to-face games, formerly of MTG Canada, Dan, and I think it's Fournier.
Yeah.
So really, really nice guy. We played a mirror that playing the mirror with this deck is actually just fun magic. I can't, if you are considering picking up Twin, you want to play interactive Magic, and you're okay, you're telling me you're going to play interactive Magic with your combo deck? Actually, yes. Actually, ridiculously interactive Magic, where every decision matters, and it's it's fun. But it was a highlight of my tournament, even though I lost that round. Because game 2, I got to put him in the position where I could go for my Mole Drifter, and I cast it when he was tapped out, and he just looks at me and goes, huh, and reaches across the table and shakes my hand. Huey Jensen to the left of me is just going, wow, yes, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I'm like, it's Sam Black's deck. I'm not gonna claim anything here, right? Like, because I'm like, so thank you, Sam Black, if you ever ran into this thing, because that was insane.
No, he listens all the time.
Yeah, he has a card.
We already went over this.
He has a card.
Then Dan untaps, and he's like, he goes, terminate your Mole Drifter. Congrats on your 3-for-1. So it was pretty awesome, and I won that game because the mirror came down to cards. So unfortunately, I lost game 3 on a really long, grindy game. I got to cast my Mole Drifter again. I evoked it, and like when I evoked the Mole Drifter, I had 7 cards in hand to his 5. Unfortunately, it was 6 lands Tassiger, and I ended up losing that game with like 6 lands left in my library, and like I had a couple relevant spells at the end, but his hand was just like loaded. He was on the triple dispel plan, which was really good in the mirror. And he was also playing a Thought Scour, which, like, the game 1, I felt like I was behind on cards. He got to play an early Snapcaster for value with the Thought Scour, and that felt pretty good. So that's what's making me lean towards playing either a Thought Scour or a Peak in the main. So,
What do you think about this tech for the mirror? Dreadship Reef?
is that that's the storage land, right?
Land. Yeah.
Yeah, people were buying those. There were 3 different vendors who, like, I was up there and people were asking for them. They could not find them on the floor.
Yeah. Christian Kokano was playing it. He was on camera one of the rounds. He had it in his twin list. It seemed really good. And Teferi on the sideboard, I think, is
Teferi is sweet.
That's the new hot.
That is sweet. I will say, I'm sure it was pretty good for him sometimes, but there are a million Ghost Quarters in the format. I'd feel really bad if I was like, tap out a charge counter, like, cool, Ghost Quarter. And I'd just be like, glad I did that for a million turns. Which, I mean, it's probably like not the worst thing that ever happened, but
no, I mean,
it might be sweet to try out for sure. Like, it's the same principle behind that Flores deck, right? Like the Crucible deck.
Yeah.
So
I feel like with the twin lists, I guess especially for Grixis, since you're playing the 3 colors, you don't have that much room for the utility lands.
It's a colorless land when it taps, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a little awkward.
So like I played like a Lighthouse.
Yeah.
But I could have played one Dreadship Reef or like one.
I will say the games I lost in the mirror, because I went 2-2 in the mirror and beat Blue Red Twin by itself. The games I lost in the mirror, I lost to Flood. Now that's not to say like there's a million decisions in the game, but like talking to Fournier after the match, like it came down to he had a grip of spells, I had a grip of land, and at some point you're just going to be able to power through the spell you want to power through, which is important. So I definitely feel like he had like one of those games he had a Lighthouse, and I did feel like I kind of a Lighthouse. If any of the lands I hadn't played was Lighthouse, that game is aggressively different. So something to consider. Day 2, I win. I win my first match. Then I lose to. I'm trying to remember what I lost to. I know I beat Living End, which I had to beat them by doing the old cryptic tap your guy draw a card, or tap your guys draw a card, Snapcaster cryptic tap your guys draw a card. Like that was pretty fun. Oh no, I lost to the mirror once on day 2. I lost to Nathan Smith, MOCS guy. I was like, man, this guy looks familiar, and then he turned around and he had his MOCS like Wizards jacket on. I was like, that's why that guy looks familiar. So I mean, all the matches I played against those two Fournier for sure is a pro. I don't know if Smith is actually like a pro player or not, but both of them were high quality players. Like we went to game 3, super close games. I was really satisfied with how they played out. The match I'm sad I lost to white, blue, red Ojutai. So it was an interesting deck. He definitely was able to land Ojutai games 2 and 3 in like awkward positions, and I couldn't draw any terminates. So it was just they were not great draws overall. So it was a sweet tournament though. Mole Drifter was insane. I was able to cash. I had a really interesting. I had a second judge call that I want to mention to you. Well, playing against Blue White Control. Game 1, my opponent goes turn 1 island, turn 2 Flooded Strand, and at the end of my turn, fetch for. He goes, I'm going to fetch for an island, play a Think Twice. I said, okay, that resolves. So he fetches the island, I cut his deck. He draws a card, untaps, draws for turn. At which point I have to stop him and say, you have to cast Think Twice.
Right.
I told this one in chat.
Yeah.
Just so you know, he just showed me that is a game rules violation and not drawing extra cards, which is something interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, the awkward thing there is like, yeah, he probably had to think twice. But like, what if he didn't? Then one of the cards he drew, either at end of turn or for his turn, was the actual think twice.
And the first thing the judge asked was if we knew any cards, like had he scryed or anything. Like I think the ruling actually would have been very different had he like played Serum Visions turn 1 and knew a card on top of his library. So I didn't appeal or anything. My opponent even said like he said like after the match he's like I don't think you needed to like fish for a free win there, and I'm like, well, I didn't appeal and try to get anything done. But I am going to call a judge there. We're playing at pro level. You know what I mean? Like, day 2 is pro. So, but I did go and ask the judge about it and just like what the theory behind it was. And Tassatori, who was there, he was writing things down because he said it was easier for him to communicate that way. But his answer was probability your opponent doesn't have to think twice. And I agreed with him on that. But I also said I disagree from the level that everything else is punished the other way. Like, if you fill out your deck list, if I wrote down Oblivion, right, in a white deck, 99% certain if I have an Oblivion Ring in my deck and I wrote down Oblivion on my deck list, I was going to write down Oblivion Ring. I just forgot a word. Still getting a game loss for that. Unless in Standard, there's only Oblivion Ring legal.
Fun fact, that actually happened. What was it, the IQ a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
Comic Town? Yeah.
Okay, so like that's a game loss. Now we can logically say, oh yeah, well we knew you meant Oblivion Ring. It's in your deck, right? But that's not how the rules are handled. So to turn around and say we can safely assume he had think twice in hand, which yeah he did. You know what I mean? It was odd to me. So that was an interesting thing to sort of keep in the back of your head. Like it wasn't malicious or anything, but it was a fun tournament. Man, I've really enjoyed. I'm gonna like I've gotten these 2 GPs in a row where like day 2 like. I'm frustrated that I didn't do a little bit better, but also like I feel really good playing around the players I'm playing with. It does not mean I feel like I'm better than them. And the two names that I really got to play against, I lost to, both times. But
yeah,
it feels good playing around those players, playing that level of Magic and doing well. Like it feels good.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important for like if you're trying to get better and you're trying to be at that level. Like I think it's a real confidence builder. Like when you're up there, like that's kind of how I felt. Like even when I played in like my first pro tour, like my mindset going in was like, oh, I'm just gonna get crushed because I'm not as good as these guys. And then it's like won a couple rounds, played against some name players, beat some name players. It's like, yeah, man, I could play with these guys. They're not that much better than me, but
hey, I can get lucky. Everybody gets lucky.
Yeah. You never know, but yeah.
Speaking of getting lucky, last story before we move into the actual content of the GP. Definitely round 5 or 6, day 1. I turn 1 Inquisition my opponent. My opponent's hand is 3 Snapcaster Mages, a Pestermite, and 3 lands. I was like, huh. Well, I'll take the Pestermite, and then I comboed him off. Like, it was the mirror, I comboed him off on turn 4. And I was talking to him, like, that was, like, that keep was a little... He's like, yeah, well, thought you were playing Tron.
You just look like a Tron kind of guy.
He saw the deck tech last week. And he said he didn't know how to play against it, so he thought that for a handful of Snapcasters you could just clock me and hope to get there from there. So I was just like, oh, I just free rolled a game off of this. Ding.
So
I just next leveled you from last week.
Shout out to Star City Games and Ken Crocker.
And when I said, hey, said Ken, thank you. That's. I was just like, oh, like he told me, he's like, I didn't know how to play against the deck, so I figured I could just clock you the Snapcaster. I was like, oh, and I was like sitting there, I was like, oh. Yeah, so that is definitely was a highlight for me.
Yeah, most certainly. I can't imagine why.
At first, when you first said that, I thought you meant he was thinking Green Red Tron. But I was like, oh yeah, you played Blue Red Tron for like a year,
all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, let's actually kind of dive into here and talk about some of the people that did very, very well at the GP. So. The entire tournament was won by Elves, piloted by Michael Malone. And this is the collector company Elves that list has been kind of running around. That's the reason why all of these random Elves cards are now like $25. I'm looking at you, Heritage Druid.
Dave, did you say that you found like a bunch of those in a box this weekend too?
So yeah, fun fact. I paid for my PPTQ entry by trading in Heritage Druids to the store.
Wow.
That I randomly found in a box.
Awesome.
So that was sweet.
That's the best.
It's good, sweet value. And he defeated Blue Red Twin, piloted by Wesley C. in the finals. Now, there was a bit of awkwardness that happened in the elimination rounds. Did you hear about this, Dave?
I heard there was a game loss in the finals.
There was.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't do the deck checks before.
Yeah, so it seems that due to a bunch of circumstances, the deck checks were not performed and may not have been performed for, ostensibly many GPs for what we can see, depending on the size of them, which is a messy situation. And it turns out that a deck list error was not caught on the Blue-Red Twin players deck until the
it was caught because like the discrepancy was found on camera when he was playing against Sam Pardee.
Yeah,
because the discrepancy was he had a Tectonic Edge on his list and a Cavern of Souls in his deck, and against Sam Pardee he played Cavern of Souls, named Wizard, and cast Teferi.
Yeah.
Awkward. And they were like, oh, so that's not in your deck.
Yeah.
So that was awkward.
I remember I watched that match.
Yeah.
And I didn't think anything of it because I didn't look at
I
didn't look at the deck list.
The Cavern was hot tech, going into the tournament as well. It was one of those things like, oh, maybe if you do this, if you're going to be on the Teferi plan, you can name Wizard. Also makes your Snapcasters uncounterable, which is pretty adorable as well.
Yeah.
If you name Wizard, obviously you could also name Cleric, you know what I mean, or Rogue, and do whatever you want. So that was definitely interesting, and then like in game, like he had the weird interaction like in game the one game they played, like his opponent, the Elves opponent, just went off. The Blue-Red Twin player was also like hedging against the metagame and was playing like Blood Moon, so like cast a Blood Moon against the Elf deck, like, which hilariously not the worst thing in the world against them. They only have 5 forests in the deck and no fetches. However, by that time, he had already. Every single one of his elves essentially taps for green mana, so he just went rolling right along and Azuried him out of the game. It was like a 7-minute finals,
which is awkward, and that's not something that you necessarily want. A build up to the finals, and it just being like, oh well, there was an error, and our opponent got a game loss, and here's your one game of the finals, and this crazy combo deck just wins. So. All right. Yeah, it's a bit of an awkward situation for sure. But as we mentioned, we had Sam Pardee show up in the top 8. He was playing Blue-Red Twin as well. And then Zach Jesse showing up playing Goryo's Vengeance, which is an interesting deck that we'll talk about. And Darren Elderfield playing Ad Nauseam, which is awesome. I'm a fan of that deck. I enjoy how that deck works. Affinity, piloted by Andrew Wagoner. And then Burn, piloted by Donald Smith. And then Ian Bosley playing Abzan Company. So it looks like to be our top 8 here. This Goryo's Vengeance deck was also making the rounds at the GP, playing some Nourishing Shoals. So if you have those might have gone up over the weekend, it seems. So, Mike, you said that you saw a player near the end of day 1. Right?
I believe so. Looking at him, I think it was Zach. I only got to see one game because I was watching my own match. Because it was playing against Patrick Dickman, and definitely like just like because I was sitting there and I happened to look up, like all the coverage guys around, like Nick Miller and stuff standing around. I was like, oh, so I look over and like the opponent's like Nourishing Soul, Exiling with Borborygmos, whatever,
Borborygmos, Enraged,
Grr, 2 heads. Right? Or no, he doesn't have 2 heads, does he? He's one.
No, but it's the 8 mana one.
Yeah, so he's like, exile this, gain 8 life, splice into Arcane, put in World Spine Worm, and I was just like, oh my gosh! I was like, now I understand why everyone's over here. So that was pretty hot to see.
Yeah, no joke.
Grizzlebrand of the Graveyard. It was like, oh yeah, all right, we're doing sweet stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. They did a deck tech on the Star City side of coverage, which is pretty cool because they had Star City coverage and WotC coverage for this. But yeah, I think it was Bob Huang
was the one that they did the.
He was like the progenitor of the deck,
mm-hmm.
And he's just talking about like all the different splice into arcane shenanigans you can do with it, which is really funny because that's never been like a thing outside of Storm sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, the deck looks super sweet.
Yeah, so he said like you could do things like casting Blood Moon on turn 1 or turn 2, and like the line is to like Nourishing Soul. So it's like exile Simian Spirit Guide, Nourishing Soul, Nourishing Soul, splice into Arcane, Desperate Ritual, play Blood Moon.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, sometimes that's just how you got to win games, I guess.
Like, what happens when you go turn on Blood Moon and your opponent's like looking at all those fetches where he's like, I was going to fetch basics. Oh, no!
What have I done? Yeah, so, I mean, Goria's Vengeance / Through the Breach, they've always been sort of like kind of broken cards. People kind of push them, and these decks come and go. So expect to see this for a while, I would imagine. Would not be shocking to see you face up against this when you have another local modern tournament, just because it's fun.
Yeah, there are definitely like a subsection of Magic players that love playing decks like this. They're just like, man, I could just like essentially turn one. I don't know if this can actually turn one kill, but it might be able to. But
I mean, yeah,
like,
you definitely.
there is a section of people that just like, oh man, I'm just gonna play the most busted deck. It's like, high variance, but like sometimes you just kill them, like on turn 1 or 2. Yeah, I could definitely see this picking up in popularity.
Yeah. And then one of the other interesting decks. So we do have some other notable names here in the top 16. We have Patrick Chapin with Grixis Control, Naya Company piloted by Paul Rietzel, and then this Abzan Company deck. Some scrub named Riley Curran apparently got 11th. Who cares? Old news. Absent Company. Who cares? Nine Companies really the new hotness.
You mean Riley missed out on Breakers?
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, to Patrick Chapin, who got 9th, so he missed out on 9th place, which is unfortunate for him. It's typically where he should be, pulling the old Riley Curran special.
Hey, but Riley did queue for the Pro Tour.
He did,
so
yeah. It's actually
him.
really exciting, and I know that he was really happy when he was able to get that locked in and everything like that. So good on him. And then so the Night Company list is the reason why your Magic of the Moon is now sold out at $20. So, oh man, I bought one of those for the Invitational in Richmond, and I did not pay $20 for it. That is for sure.
But then you also say you doubled up on like disrupting shoals as well.
Oh yeah. I bought those actually before the tournament because I thought I might play one of those crazy Delver lists, but I ended up not, obviously. But they're now sold out at $10, and I bought them all for like $5. So whatever, who cares?
Disrupting Shoal?
Yeah.
Who's playing that?
It was in the
the
Delver list.
The Delver list. Remember
the Sultai and the Teamer
the
Delver
Blowfish.
list.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Hey, it's modern, man.
It sees any play, it just
Wild
shoots
Wild
up.
West.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the Magus of the Moon especially. It's like the poor man's Blood Moon, but not really anymore.
No, not
It's
at
like,
all.
No, you still have to be rich to have these two.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's crazy. And then one of the lists that's getting a lot of talk about is the Lantern Control list, piloted by Zach Elsick. 3 creatures, 3 spell guides. But this is a sort of a library control deck, right? They really control the top of your library.
This is for like the real masochists out there.
Oh yeah.
It's like, if you like playing decks like Turbo Fog, you're gonna love this.
We have a deck for you. Yeah, this has a lot of interesting cards, most certainly that you don't see a whole lot of typically. So Lantern of Insight.
No, do you want to say what that does?
I guess we
talk
should
about what this does.
Lantern of Insight, each player plays the top card of his or her library revealed, and then you can sacrifice it and tap it and sacrifice it, and target player shuffles their library. So there's a whole bunch of other cards here that make players, you say Codex Shredder, you have Ghoul Caller's Bell. So these cards, make both players or one player put the top card of their library into their graveyard. That's what Codex Shredder does, right? Yeah,
Yes.
target player, yeah. So you're controlling the top of your opponent's deck. If you don't want them to have something, you can make them put it in their graveyard, which is fairly interesting. And that's basically the idea behind this deck. Is as far as my understanding of it is, you kind of kill them either through milling, one would assume, or you do have these Pyrite spell bombs in the deck that you can keep rebuying with your Academy Ruins. The first time that I ever played Magic in high school, I actually had one of my friends build me a deck because I didn't have any cards. I definitely had a Lantern of Insight / Spellbomb deck, which this it makes me fondly remember. It didn't quite do this, obviously. It relied on the guy that got back 1-mana artifacts
RX
from
salvagers?
your... Oh, yeah, salvagers, yeah.
Nice.
That was the idea of it. But, like, seeing those cards being in, like, top 16 of a modern Grand Prix... I always do that.
Space Jam.
Modern Space Jam is hilarious, most certainly. So...
So the first question was, how does this deck beat aggro decks? And then you look at the board, 4 Sun Droplets,
yeah.
which, man, that card is so hated in Cube.
Oh yeah, I had to cut it out of the cube. 'Cause it was too frustrating.
Above Annihilate and 3 Nature's Claims. Oh, yes, he's not boarding those in just against decks where he can kill other things. He's definitely boarding those in against Burn, so you
Yeah.
can just gain 4 life.
Yeah, also, not to mention he has the Snaring Bridge. 4 of them.
Well, yeah,
in
you
his
got to
main
survive
deck.
to get one, and then
Yeah.
you have this. I started hearing people talk about this deck, and I was just like, if I sat down across from this deck and I knew I was losing, I would just be so sad. You know what I mean? Like I'd just be like, this. I didn't come here for this.
What's going on right now? I don't even know.
Oh, man.
This deck also has 4 Glimmer Voids. It's probably the first deck I've ever seen not named Affinity.
Yeah.
Glimmer Void in it.
Man.
That's hilarious.
It's stuff like this that... So, I'm clicking on a lot of these cards. We're on Star City Games website. I'm clicking on a lot of these cards, and I click on them, and they're sold out. It's frightening.
No.
For nickels.
Yeah, no, like... So, Blackleaf Cliffs actually spiked
Well,
over the
that,
weekend. It's sold out at $11.39.
To be fair, you could say that about pretty much every modern card.
Yeah.
That's the point to make. Like,
You like
all
those
of these things are just
$100
like...
Snapcasters.
Oh, yeah.
We got them.
Oh, by the way, Lantern of Insight sold out at 35 cents, guys. You missed out. Sorry. Sorry. Missed out on that train. Yeah, it's kind of crazy what's happening in Modern right now. A lot of cards are in demand, a lot of exciting, things going on here. So, let's take a look here real quickly at the day 2 archetype breakdown. So we had Grixis Twin showing up at 11.90%, and then Jund showing up at 10.30%. There's some caveats here.
There were 37 copies of Grixis Twin day 2.
Gotcha.
I just wanted to mention that because I was one of them.
Oh, I'm proud. I'm proud of you. The notes, and then there was a couple of day 1 undefeated lists as well.
Yeah, Wizards did a pretty good job with this too. Like they also have a chart of just like combining all the twin decks together.
Yeah.
It's like overall we had 56 twin decks.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
18% of the format.
And then still 32 Jund lists. So taking a look here, there's definitely like a lot of stuff. We see that Burn and Affinity showed up a lot over the weekend as well. So that might be kind of a resurgence of those decks. Affinity kind of has not been as popular. It's always there, but I mean, people have been debating, shifting away from packing their hate and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I don't think that's all that surprising. Just I think Affinity and Burn are decks that are easy to. Are easily accessible, I feel like, or maybe more accessible than some of the
I think
other
Affinity
decks.
definitely got, like, as a modern deck, got more accessible. Like, if you want to pick one deck that was more accessible because of Modern Masters 2,
Yeah,
it's Affinity.
it's Affinity, and actually, I actually think Affinity was well positioned for this weekend. In
I don't
particular.
disagree at all. Like, it's able to pressure its opponents, and like looking at like the red green Tron matchup, like it laughs at Ugin. You know what I mean? Like it can just roll them. So yeah, I think that if you look right under so like. The next aggro deck after that, you have Infect, who has a higher percentage on day 2 than Tron does. So you have at least these 3 hyper aggressive decks who are just like, even if the matchup you could say was like, oh, I think I can win this matchup. Sure, I'm going to consistently pressure you and try to beat you before you can beat me. And there's definitely something for that, and it shows out.
Yeah,
it was diverse. I mean, if you look, like obviously Twin. I say it's diverse, and you're laughing because Twin is 1,000,000%. But if you look at the top 16, there's 12 different archetypes in the top 16. 12.
yeah.
Now I am counting the company decks as different archetypes, and I'm but
They are.
Yeah,
And they're playing on different axes.
so I mean like that's so huge in this format. And even though you see like Twin did really well here, right? Then who's to say that over the course of the metagame for PPTQs, whatever, now it can start shifting, okay? Like the land decks had their day. Twin came in and said, we're going to punish the land decks, okay? Because, I mean, Bloom was there. Let me tell you. It was
Yeah.
definitely there. But it was able to be kept in check. And now if Twin's too big, well, guess what? Jun's going to come back again.
Yeah,
So
and
we're
you-
going to see a healthy metagame. And then pretty much any other deck you want to play, as long as you're building and tuning to which direction you think the compass is going to fall that week, you can play whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what I was gonna say. Like, you do see a little bit of shifting with Modern, but it's so big, and you have to be prepared for so many different things that like you can't really tilt your deck in one. Like if you're like, I think everybody going into this weekend was talking about Bloom in Tron, and it's like, okay, so maybe you play a Ghost Quarter
Instead of a Tectonic Edge.
instead of a Tectonic Edge, or yeah, whatever. And there's a little tweaks like that, but you're not gonna like put like, oh, I'm gonna play 4 Blood Moons in my sideboard now, and maybe some other cards on top of that. It's because then you're hurting your percentages against too many other decks in the field.
Now, the one thing I will say I do worry about, at least a little bit, is that in some cases, those certain decks, like I said, like I don't think, even though I, like, looking at what I played against, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't even play against a land deck. I didn't play against Tron or Bloom. I played around it all day, but I played the Twin Mirror match 5 times. I wouldn't have wanted to do that with Gifts. Like, you can win that matchup, but Grixis is tough, right? So I do worry with these exploding prices in Modern that people who are into one deck are going to get stuck into that one deck, and that the metagame is not as diverse as Legacy is. Like, it's not as robust. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to see a Legacy tournament with 56% of the the day 2 decks on Delver. You know what I mean? You're just
No.
not going to see that. So I do worry about that a little bit. I don't know how you go about changing that. It could also be just riding the storm out for a minute, because that's what happened last year or was it last year at Richmond?
Yeah.
Yeah, last year's Richmond, where this everything went up, and then like throughout the course of the summer, a lot of cards was like, okay, this was incorrect. So
Yeah, I think the last time it happened probably was around where it happened really big was like Modern Masters. When Modern Masters
Right.
came out, like you could easily buy up the stuff that didn't get reprinted, and
the
kinda
difference
make
is
money.
though, the difference this time I think is that you have the PPTQ season, so who knows how these are going to settle. So I
Yeah.
worry about that. I guess I'm lucky enough to have access to a number of decks, like
Yeah.
just like having built for Modern, but.
I just have a bunch of Grixis cards, so whatever I feel like playing that week, I can play
Yeah, that's
aggro,
true.
control, or combo, whatever.
I do think the other interesting thing we're seeing, especially with Grixis Twin, and even with the company decks, is the advent of, like, it's been a subtle change, and like we could roll back the tape. More going to be a lot of work, so we won't make you do that. But what we discussed about the fetches the first time they were printed, and like wondering if it would enable brand new archetypes, and I think we all said, like, I don't know if it enables a brand new archetype, but it allows for some fluidity, right? Well, now you're seeing like Twin, like, is Grixis Twin going to be a flash in the pan, or is it people just recognize that the Pluto Delta gave the deck an entirely different access? You know what I mean? Or access to go on, or the company decks, or it's like Windswept Teeth is a big deal for a deck that like otherwise would be stuck with like Razorverge Ticket and needs to hit a 4-drop. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like it's. And I say only Razorverge Ticket, you know what I mean? So I think it's interesting to see how the format is starting to, like, even if it's subtle, you're going to look at the decks and go, the decks are like this. But take a look at the mana bases. Take a look at what decks are starting to be able to do things. Like, Naya Zoo now gets to have Wooded Foothills and Windswept Teeth, which is a big deal for its mana base.
Yeah.
So
when you're playing a creature that likes to have both mountains and plains, yes.
so it's I don't know. It's cool to see. It's cool to see the format. Like the format. I'm going to say mature based on those lands. You know what I mean? Like become more legitimate based on that. So it's cool to see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's pretty much everything for GP Charlotte. Unless anyone else wants to add anything else, it was a great time. Star City Games again ran a pretty tight ship.
We were done by before 9 o'clock.
Yeah,
Which, I mean, for a tournament that had almost 3,000 players built into 3 different flights, I mean, like it was like 8:30. We were done. Like we had dinner plans at 9. We were able to go to our hotel, put our stuff away, and go make our dinner plans.
yeah.
That's so nice too, because like so many times you go to a tournament, you don't get out of there till like after 10.
Yeah, how do you plan anything?
And then it's like, man, it's like by the time I eat dinner, it's gonna be like I'm gonna get back to the hotel around midnight or whatever. And it's just
Yeah.
like, I'm just gonna want to sleep.
Right.
Yeah. So,
But
no, yeah, it was really great, and it's always great to go to something that Star City Games runs, and that's why like we were incentivized to go to GP Charlotte just for the sheer fact that we knew it was going to be a well-run tournament, and when we're putting money and like time investing into it, like I don't want to go to something that's going to be like terrible to go to. So It was good, and it was just a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. We got to go. I've never been to Charlotte, North Carolina, so it was my first time being there, and it was a really good city. Everything was like really easy to get to, and unfortunately, we didn't get to see Jurassic World, which we tried to go to.
We tried to
so bad.
I think Jordan and his father tried to go see Jurassic World 3 different times in the weekend.
Yeah,
The theater was sold out each time.
I can understand why it's like the biggest box office opening worldwide now at this point in time. So
Go to Fandango that.
Apparently, man.
Don't bring it up. It's a sore subject. Sore subject.
Sore subject. Yeah. No, I don't want to talk about it. All right. Well, let's wrap up this episode. I'm so tired from driving all day, and let's take a look at see what's happening over the weekend. So we have Star City Games Indy, which is going to be standard for the main event, which we are not attending because we've been away from our significant others for far too long, and I want a place to live.
I mean,
so
Dave and I also,
we're going back to Indy like the next week.
Oh yeah. Well,
some tournament.
Why are we doing that, Dave?
Get back on the Pro Tour.
So I'm obviously going to be there, not trying to get back on the Pro Tour, but to hang out at an awesome convention and hopefully get to talk to people about Magic and see what's going on over at Indie PopCon. So again, Indie PopCon happening the same time. It's going to be awesome, and I hope I can see some of you guys out there. I think it's the 25th through the 27th, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just gonna look up the dates. 26th through the 28th. Excuse me, I was day off. 26th through the 28th, and it's gonna be the downtown Indianapolis Convention Center. So you guys can still get passes to go, and I'll be there. Hopefully I'll come see you guys, and if there's anything Magic going on, I'm going to try to get involved with it as far as that is concerned. So it's going to be really fun and exciting. Also, there's GP Providence over the weekend, which is standard as well, and then GP Copenhagen, which is more modern. So it'll be awesome to see how Charlotte affects GP Copenhagen, and the European metagame is always a little bit different anyway. So we'll see what happens. So awesome, exciting stuff to watch over the weekend, and you, of course, can find us on our website, which is @yourendstep.com, or follow us on Twitter, which is @yourendstep. We also have an email address, @yourendstep@gmail.com. Pretty easy. So if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to write out to us. Also, we are on Facebook. It's just, look for @yourendstep and come like our page. Leave us comments. We definitely try to be active in there, and like all of our Twitter posts go over there as well. So if you don't want to follow us on Twitter, it's a good way to see what's going on with the @yourendstep crew. Also, while you're on Facebook, you should go find Comic Town Gaming Center and like their page and find out more about their events and stuff like that. They are by far the premier store in Columbus, Ohio. So if you're going to go to anyone's events, it should be theirs. They have awesome F&M events, and we can't speak more highly of them. Even if they didn't sponsor us, that's where we would go anyway. So please do encourage. We do encourage you to go visit them if you're in town. That's pretty much it for us this week. We'll catch you guys next time. You have a great one. Bye.